Okay, good afternoon again, everyone. I guess we could start. Um, so welcome to this afternoon session, particularly this session on COVID-19 and the economy. So for this afternoon, we have three paper presentations, although there are supposed to be four of them. But before I go over the titles of the presentation and the authors, let me give some reminders. I would just like to reiterate the reminders that were mentioned earlier during the plenary session. So the pre-recorded video presentations will be played and will be screen shared with the help of Danny, our technical assistant, who is also our student from the School of Economics. And then after which, after all the presentations are done, we will have the Q&A, or the question and answer, or the open forum. So everyone will be given the chance to ask their questions, or if they have clarifications. And then if we finish early, we would like to request you to stay as we wait for the closing remarks at exactly 3:30 p.m. Okay, so by 3:30 p.m. we will be moved back to the main Zoom meeting. So please stay tuned for that one if ever we finish early. So I guess we could start. So the first paper that we will be watching, that we will be viewing, is entitled "Income Immobility Results: Vicious Circle of Poverty: An Empirical Analysis of the Role of Education on Income Mobility and Poverty" by Shishir Roy, Acharya of Acharya Prafula Chandra College, India. Our second paper is entitled Microeconomic Factors Impacting Profitability of Listed Industrial and Services Firms in the Philippines. An analysis by John Marie Edra and Ahmed Mendawani of De La Salle University, Philippines. And our third paper, who unfortunately we won't be able to view their video. Their paper is entitled "Value at Risk: Crude Oil Price During the COVID-19 Pandemic" by Ernie Hendrawati and Fajrin Satria Dwi Kesuma of University of Lampung, Indonesia. And for our last paper, paper 4, an industry analysis of stock returns at the Philippine Stock Exchange during the COVID-19 vaccine rollout, by Dr. Joy Rabo and Michelle Ang of De La Salle University, Philippines. Before I continue on, let me introduce myself. I am Mitzi Irene Conchada of the School of Economics of De La Salle University, and I'll be your moderator for this afternoon. So let's sit back and let's watch the video presentations of our paper presenters. Thank you very much. So we now move on to our question and answer, our open forum. So now that you've heard all the papers, we open the floor for questions or for clarifications for anyone who wants to raise. So you may either type them on the chat box, or you may also, if you wish to deliver your question personally, you may click the icon button on raise your hand, and then you can turn on your microphone. So while you're crafting your questions, perhaps I could start with my questions and clarifications. But first of all, I would like to congratulate all the presenters this afternoon for a very brief but yet concise presentation of your paper. And what I appreciate about this session is, though it's very diverse, we have topics on education and intergenerational income mobility, as well as microeconomic factors affecting the rate of return on investment, as well as some industry analysis of the stock returns. The underlying theme is really what could be the possible impacts of COVID-19 on the economy. So to start off, my first clarification, my first question goes to Mr. Shishir Roy. Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate the methodology as well as the framework that you presented in terms of how what would be the impact of um, intergenerational income mobility. And this seems to highlight really the importance of education on increasing um, income levels. Now, I wonder, since India has a very different uh, um, social structure in terms of the caste system, I wonder whether there's a difference between males and females, or I could have mentioned that in your paper, but I seem to have um, maybe I missed it. So, Mr. Roy, would you like to comment or react on that?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your appreciation. Thank you, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, sorry. I would like to clarify whether the results that you found out is the same for both males and
Yes,
females.
yes, yes, yes. We can do it, but we are focusing now on the caste because India is now is approximately to 2,500 years back. This is the caste problem in India till now
Mhm.
regime. That's why you have to focus on the caste based analysis,
Mhm.
applying Osaka blinder reef regression, which is developed 2018 by FFL, Firpo and et al. That's why I have focused on only on caste system, but it is also true for the man and women gap in the wage gap in India, and it is also robust. We will get the robust result for male female gap uh, in India. And also we can
Okay.
focus on FGT, or FGT is the poverty index we have to use in this paper,
Mhm.
but we can extend this also in other distribution statistic, that is twin inequality measurement, that is the GE, general entropy measurement, or
Mhm.
another beyond the mean. Sorry, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much for clarifying that, Mr. Any
Thank you,
more?
ma'am.
Does anyone here in the um, in the audience do we have additional questions for or clarifications for Mr. Roy's paper, the first presentation? Okay, so I would take that for not a no, or at least for now. Okay, so we move on to the second presentation. The presentation on microeconomic factors affecting the rate of return on investment. So I also find this very relevant and very interesting. But I was expecting from the title, when I read microeconomic factors, I was thinking about economic indicators such as GDP growth rate or inflation rate affecting the firms or the company. Um, so how did you come about with identifying the microeconomic factors that you mentioned earlier? Anyone from either Miss Claire or Dr. Ahmed can answer the question.
Miss, it's basically based on the related literature that we have
Mhm.
gathered.
Mhm.
So, based on the related literature, these are some of the most common firm-specific factors that have impact on firms' profitability. So, based on the most common factors, we have we were able to decide which factors can we include in our paper.
Mhm. Okay. All right. So anyone else would like to ask Ms. Claire and Dr. Ahmed regarding their paper presentation? Perhaps another clarification, Ms. Claire, if you don't mind. Did you try to classify the firms into micro, small, and medium enterprises, or did you just lump them all together?
No, we were not able to classify them as such. So we just pulled all the firms. So
Okay.
there were no classifications that were
Okay.
performed.
All right. So noted on that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else would like to ask the second paper? Okay. Okay. Just feel free to type if you're shy to personally ask your question. You may also type them on the chat box. Okay. For the third, the last.
Dr. Mitzi,
Yes, Dr. Joy, go ahead,
I think
please.
Miss Michelle has a question.
Yes, go ahead, Miss Michelle.
Yes, just to clarify, in line with your question earlier for the second paper, I think they studied two industry, right? Industrial and services. Did I get it correct that they also lump the two industry together in their study? There's just one result, or they separate yung result for the two industries?
We lumped all the firms in both sectors.
So as one, only one regression for the
Yes,
all
yes.
right, all right. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Michelle. All right. So moving on to our third paper, the one on industry analysis stock returns at the Philippine Stock Exchange. I find this very interesting because I think this is very relevant to what the Philippines is experiencing right now, and I also appreciate the details that you presented, especially the per sector analysis that you presented, because it gives us really a clear view as to what really takes place or what would be the impact on each particular sector, knowing that these different sectors would really react separately or differently from any economic change or economic crisis in this case. So I think my clarification is only you mentioned in your recommendations on how firms could manage um, such a crisis from happening. But if we were, for example, to extend the analysis to, let's say, if there would be a full rollout of the vaccine, perhaps in the third quarter or towards the end of the year, would you siguro just a forecast or something, would you foresee the same results in the same industries, or would you see different results? Maybe just a guess or some ideas on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mitzi, for your question. Ako, personally, Miss Michelle may answer her own. Ako, personally, I think there might be a difference in the results, especially now that we are actually when we submitted our paper. We showed that there is a 3 days increase in the PSEI index, or 3 days increase in the Philippine Stock Exchange index. But then after we submitted our paper, have been more cases. There have been more cases, COVID-19 cases, and therefore there had been a decline, no, declining performance also of the stock exchange. So I think when we have the full scale implementation already, sometime this year, there might be a different impact. So we are actually recommending that there will be a further study on this one. Thank you. Miss Ang might have her own separate.
Yes, I agree with Dr. Joy. Initially, we actually thought that the industry would reflect a positive reaction to the vaccine rollout because it's a good news for us. But as you can see in the result, it's only the property sector which reflected a positive reaction to the rollout. And maybe we should really consider, in addition to the vaccine rollout, would be the number of cases na COVID-19 cases, because it has in previous studies, those are the ones who have really also impact the market reactions. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Yes, thank you so much, Miss Michelle and Dr. Joy. So any questions, any other additional questions for paper 3 or for any of the papers that were presented earlier? We still have a lot of time actually to entertain your questions. Anything else? Okay, so we have a question here from Miss Mira De Luna. Would you like to read your question, or would you like to read it for you? Okay, anyway, okay. So Miss De Luna says here that for paper 3, for the paper of Dr. Chen and Ms. Michelle, would interrupted time series analysis also work for this type of study?
We're going to look into that. Thank you for the suggestion. Yes, we're going to look into that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. De Luna. All right. Any more questions? All right. So I think yeah, I think we can well, we still have to wait until 3:30, so please stay for so that we can return back to the plenary session, to the plenary hall. But before we end, before we go on a break, a short break, let's all can we have a photo up with everyone? So if you can turn on your cameras or your videos, that would be great. Thank you very much. Okay. Hi, Danny. Okay,
Hello,
so,
Miss. I'll be the one taking a picture na lang.
okay. Yeah, we will follow your cue.
Okay po. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Thank you po.
All right. Thank you so much, Danny. And thank you, everyone, for attending this session. Let's take a short break, but let's not log out first. Let's not log out from this meeting. At 3:30 p.m., we will automatically be redirected back to the plenary hall. So thank you again for our paper presentations, and congratulations to everyone. So I hope that you will continue on improving your paper, or furthering your study in order to include other um, possible impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you so much, everyone. So let's take a short break for now. Thank you. But if you still have additional questions, we're still here. You can type in the chat box. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Lucy. Thank you,
Thank
Danny.
you. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you po.
Thank you also to all our delegates from the other countries.